welcome everyone to the penultimate round of the 2013 GP4 Offline Championship season. I am your host for today, George Rogue, and welcome to the US Grand Prix at the Circuit of the Americas, aka COTA, aka Austin, Texas. This the second ever US Grand Prix, and some facts for this race. It is in fact Joseph Williams' birthday for this race, so happy birthday to him. Meanwhile, in the standings, Will Nella, who took the lead after a dramatic race last time out, so he leads by 5 points ahead of Florian Volker in second, Miguel Scow in third, with still 5 drivers still in the line for winning the title, I should say. But it could be halved, and it could possibly be won, but it is highly unlikely. It could be won possibly by Will Nella, but he needs a miracle, in all honesty, to actually have a chance of winning the title. Meanwhile, we're going to have a look at some of the action from the previous, from last year's race with Miguel Scow having that incident in the first corner, which will probably be an overtaking spot, turn 1. As we head down further towards the rest of the lap, we look coming down turn 3 and 4. We look at the big crash that occurred between Joseph Willows and Adam Wolf last year, and heading down further down the back straight. The collision last season between Robert Ionescu, Franco Gamba and Alex Southgate, which eliminated all 3 drivers on the spot. The tyres that will be used in this race will be the hard tyres, as well as possibly the wet and intermediate tyres. The driver of the day, the winner last time out at Abu Dhabi, Waze Kuba, who got driver of the day in the race, given a 7 out of 10, which I think is a fair rating. But anyway, here is the grid for the second ever American Grand Prix. Florian Volker on pole with Jay McKenzie in second place. That's exactly what Volker needs in the title race. Third place is Waze Kuba. Fourth place is George Roque for Mercedes, and it's also a battle to see who gets the last Mercedes seat between Roque, Kuba and Willows. 5th place is Will Miller. 6th place is Robert Ionescu. 7th place is Miguel Scow. 8th place is Joseph Willows. Onto the 5th row of the grid. 9th is Oliver Glazebrook. 10th is Kirosima de Rossa, qualifying for both Saubers there. As we move further down the order, 11th is Vedran Virginia. 12th is Ricky Hartzane. As we move further down into onto row 7 is Alex Southgate, I should say, and Franco Gamba. 15th place is Amar Carr, followed by David Greenwood in P16. As we move down onto the 9th row of the grid, we have William Duncan and Lucas Levi for Toro Rosso and Mercy respectively. Zachary Fitzwater, 19th for Caterham, and Roman Quag, 20th for Williams. On the last row of the grid is Roland Moitin for Williams and Rick Yan for Caterham. So that is the grid for the second US Grand Prix. As you can see, the weather-wise, it will be wet for the first part of the race, light rain, but it will stop as we get to the end of the race. And now this could be very interesting. Wet, dry races are always fascinating in the OC, and this should be no exception. So it'll be raining lightly for the first, or for the most of the race, but it'll get drier at the end. You can see there is rain on the camera. They're on the intermediate tyres as we're about to start the race. We now have 3 lights, 4 lights, and now 5 lights are on. And we're underway for the American Grand Prix, aka US Grand Prix, and Florian Volker makes a good start. They head up towards the first corner, up the hill. McKenzie slots into second place. Roque on the inside of Kuba, but he can't quite make the move stick as they head through the first corner. It looks like, hopefully has everyone avoided contact as they head through the S's for the first time. Kuba stays ahead of Roque, with Nello, who I think has actually dropped behind his teammate Ionescu. There is already a yellow flag out at the first corner. Has there been an incident already? And there has, and it is Vedran Vidrina in the McLaren who's been involved at the first corner, and it looks like he is out of the Grand Prix on his first ever trip to COTA, and he is already out, and he's had a crash somewhere, and it looks like he's been hit from behind, judging by the replays. Let's have a look. So he made a relatively good start, got up to 10th as he got into the first corner. Oh, he gets punted from behind by someone, I'm not sure who, and oh dear me, and then gets hit by the Toro Rosso there, and it was the Force India there who hit the Croatian driver of Vidrina coming to turn 1. So he made a good start, got past the Sauber, and unfortunately Vidrina kind of just moved a little bit in front of him. And actually the Force India behind also made contact as well. So both Force Indias involved in this first lap crash. But eventually Vidrina, unfortunately for him, he's going to be out of the race as he may have had a bit of contact there, and then got spun around by the Toro Rossos and then got hit by the Williams, who I believe actually got without any damage. So lucky more cars weren't involved in that, or at least didn't get any more damage from that. So we're going to have a look on board from Rick Yan's point of view, who's moved all the way up from 22nd to 12th in just one corner. Quite incredible. Let's go on board with him. So he's in 22nd. He's moved past several cars, but they all got held up. And look at that. He just sensed a gap and went on the inside, and would have probably got past and nearly got past the Force India there, but didn't quite get through. But he still made it past him anyway because he had damage. And so Rick Yan up 10 places on the first lap. That is quite some start. As we look at and De Ross has lost his front wing as well. Let's have a look what happened to him. I don't think he was involved in the Force India thing. Oh no, he wasn't. Oh my word. Look at that, he just absolutely plows into the back of Nicolas Gal there in the Red Bull, and he somehow, Gal, got away without any damage. But for De Rossa, that was a really silly mistake that he didn't really need to do, and now he's going to have to pit for a new front wing as the car's trying to slot through the damage one. There's Ricky Hartgreen involved in the first lap crash, who's dropping further down the back. There's William Duncan, who's right behind trying to get by as well. And he now moves on the inside, does he? No, Hartgreen doesn't exactly give him a lot of room there, but he tries to get past him nonetheless. We're looking at David Greenwood. They now make a move. Oh, and there's more contact there. He's been hit by his teammate, Lucas Levi, who I think has managed to get away without damage, fortunately. But still, that was a silly mistake there between the two Mauritians that didn't need to be made. So let's go on board with Levi. And I don't think he got any damage from it, did he? No, he didn't. It was just a bit of damage to the rear wing of Lucas Levi's car, of David Greenwood's car, I should say. But Levi is now going to go past him on the straight, and indeed he does so. But now he's got the Williams behind of Roman Quagga to contend with as they come down the back straight for the first time here at Kota. So they head into the left-hander at the end of the straight. Volker's has got a very comfortable lead right now over Mackenzie in second, Cooper in third, Roque in fourth, Ionescu fifth, Will Neller sixth, Glazebrook seventh, Gal 8th, Southgate is in 9th, and Willers completes the points 10th, with Rick Yan up to 11th now after having got past De Rossa. What a start that is by the Caterham driver. Makes his way up just one place off the points. That is some start as we look at all the rest of the cars slotting through on the first lap. As Ricky Hart is about to get passed by Quagga, as there's Kuba now right behind Mackenzie, as Volker has absolutely gone off into the distance right now. Willow's now battling on the inside of Alex Southgate for P9, and he makes the move stick. So Willow's, Kuba and Roque battling for that last Mercedes spot, which has been up for grabs. It hasn't been confirmed yet. Many people thought it was going to be confirmed after the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, but it would be held for one more race going into the final round in Brazil, as we're looking at the Toro Rosso here of William Duncan coming through the S's part of the course. Definitely one of my favourite parts of this track. And generally, I think this track is very good. As we're looking at him coming through the left, now coming through a quick right and then a quick left. And he makes it through. And oh, Will Neller's out. Will Neller, the championship leader, and Ionescu. Will Neller and Ionescu are out of this race. Ionescu, that is his title hopes gone. And Will Neller, the championship leader. Well, he won't be the championship leader after this race, but Will Neller, that is exactly what he didn't want. And I believe the two Lotus drivers have actually collided by the looks of things. So Neller was behind Ionescu coming into the hairpin before the straight as they went on the inside. Oh no, 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 no. I'm sounding like that cat now. Oh dear me, that's rule number one, never hit your teammate, and especially don't hit your teammate when you're in a title battle, when you're both at least in a title battle. I don't really know who is really going to be to blame for that one. It's tough to see. Let's go on board again with Neller. So he made a move on the inside of Ionescu. There wasn't any contact there. And, I mean, Neller was on the inside there. I mean, Ionescu, I think, probably should have seen him coming. I mean, I think Neller was in his rights to make a move there. But I don't honestly think you can pin a blame to one driver there. I think they were both equally at fault, as there is Gal's trying to get past Oliver Glazebrook, who's up to P5 right now, so that's a pretty impressive start by the Sauber drivers. Let's have a look on board with Glazebrook from his point of view. So, I mean, Neller was on the I just don't know. I mean, I don't think that is one driver's fault, to be honest. I think they both made an error. I mean, Neller was in his rights to go in there. Ionescu, I suppose, probably wanted to defend, but maybe didn't realise that he was coming, and Glazebrook just had to back off there to stop getting involved in that. Let's have a look at it again. So Ionescu, who's running the American flag because he also has American citizenship, if you're wondering, because I know he is Romanian, but he has American citizenship from his family. I mean, maybe from that angle, it does look like it was a bit of a late move there from Nella. But I mean, Ionescu maybe should have given him a bit of room. I mean, I don't know, but I think it was a move that Nella probably didn't really need to have made. He could have easily just got past him on the straight. It has got ahead of him, and that is fantastic news for Florian Volker right now, who is currently leading this race, and he'll take the championship lead. He won't win the championship, I believe, if he wins this race. I should say, even if he wins this race. Now here is Kuba on the inside battling with Mackenzie, and he finally makes the mistake, and Volker is 13 seconds. How on earth has he managed to get that far ahead? I just saw on the timing above there, 13 seconds. That is unbelievable. He's managed to get that far ahead, but Kuba gets into second place. It's probably because of the fact that maybe Mackenzie's been holding these guys up. And now George Roque, his teammate, is right behind us. Oliver Glazebrook is still running in a very impressive 5th place right now, ahead of Nicolas Gau. That's a good drive so far by Glazebrook, who will remain with Sauber for next season. So looking at Roque trying to make a move on Mackenzie, coming into the place where Nella and Ionescu collided, and I think they've got through scot-free, and yes they have. No harm done, no damage done to their cars. They're still in. Mackenzie at the moment is still in title contention, but he ideally needs to be probably at the front behind Volker, I think, to stand any chance of actually staying in the title fight. As we're now looking at Florian Volker, who's made his first pit stop and has gone on to the wet tyres. Now that is interesting. He's gone on to the wet tyres, and we're looking on board with him. Coming round through the last section, he had 5.2 litres, so I don't think it's actually... Oh, and that's why he had a loose wheel. Oh, wow. So Florian Volker actually had a problem. He was so far in front of Kuba, and, well, he was lucky that Volker that had that problem just before the pits there. That was very lucky indeed. But he was pitting in about a lap or two anyway, so it's only a couple of laps earlier than he wanted to. But he's gone onto the wet tyres. Now, that is going to be very interesting. I mean, it doesn't look that wet, but, I mean, I could be wrong. But, I mean, it is light rain, but it's... So I guess maybe the track is getting wetter. But I'd be very interested to see if that's the right decision or not. We shall see come the next few laps or so. If it keeps on raining, then maybe it is a masterstroke by the Red Bull team. I suppose they had to do it quickly because they probably didn't expect Volker to pit because he had that problem. And Renaud Moitian for Williams is sadly out. He's retired at the first corner. And he's had an accident, so what's happened here? So he's running in 12th place. He had Franco Gamba behind him. Franco Gamba, sorry, ahead of him, I should say. Going into the first corner, and Moitian... Oh, Moitian gets... Oh, no, not again. Duncan Aldo has come into force. He's just absolutely ploughed into the back. I mean, look at that. Just look at that. What was he thinking there, Duncan? He clatters into the back of the Williams there, who goes into Gamba, and now Franco Gamba is out as well. Oh my word, Franco Gamba is going to be absolutely livid. He's going to be fuming. I don't think he'll be saying grazie ragazzi to well, he may be in a sarcastic tone. You never know. But that was a really stupid move there by Duncan, who's taken both Moitian and his teammate out of the race. And I'm getting word he is set to get a 25-second penalty for that, which is not really a big surprise. Anyway, George Roque comes in to the pits for Mercedes. Will he do the same as Volker, put on the wet tyres? It'd be interesting to see, because if they do, then clearly they think the track is getting wetter. And the answer is, yep, they put on the wet tyres as well. So it looks like wet tyres are the way to go, it seems. There's Zachary Fitzwater, who's running in the points at the moment in P9. Good result for him at the moment, but we'll see if he can keep that up before the end of the race. Roque comes out of the pits. Where's he going to come out? He's going to come out, I think, just inside the points, as now Waze Kuba comes in to the pits for his first pit stop of the Grand Prix. He was leading ahead of Mackenzie. I haven't actually seen Mackenzie's fuel, but I guess probably Mackenzie must be on a heavy fuel load, hence why he was seemingly quite slow. But we'll see what happens to him anyway, as Waze Kuba now comes out and Oliver Glazebrook comes in for his first pit stop of the race. As there's Southgate going through, he'll move up into P5. Kuba comes out, he'll drop down to P6, or no, in fact P7. And actually, no, in fact, P8. He'll drop behind George Roque, who stays ahead of him, crucially, after the stops. So that was important for Roque to get ahead of him now. As we're looking at Roman Quagg, who's coming into the pits, as we're now looking at William Duncan, who is trying to attack Rick Yan in the Caterham for the points. And he's now going on the... he's right behind him in the slipstream. I was about to say he's going on the inside, but he hasn't even tried to overtake him there. Ricky Hart is maybe going up into turn 1 up the hill. Roman Quagg now comes into the pits for Williams, goes on the wet tyres. And he comes out onto the track. Where is he going to come out in the order? I think he's going to come out in, I reckon, P15 probably. I don't know where De Rossa is, unless De Rossa can come out ahead of him. I'm not sure. And the answer is no, he doesn't. He actually comes out still at P14. Now looking at George Roque, who's right behind Zachary Fitzwater in the Caterham, who's now making a move on the inside. And Fitzwater defends and makes contact with Roque there. And Roque just about sneaks through. And he moves up into P6, but that was not particularly as clean, I should say, as Roque would have liked, that is for sure. As now Cooper's on the inside. Fitzwater isn't exactly making it easy, even though he's got quite clearly an inferior car. As Cooper makes the move now into P7 past Fitzwater, and now he's going to have Roque in his sights. So now going to have a look at what happened again. Coming down into the left-hander before the back straight. I mean, Fitzwater moved over there, and he was lucky. I was expecting Roque or Fitzwater to spin, but they got away with it, and Roque made the position stick, although, as I said, it wouldn't be the way he would have wanted it to. As now Jamie McKenzie, even though he's got plenty of fuel left to go into, he was on a long fuel strategy, and it'll still be an even longer one now, as he now goes onto the wet tyres. He has to wait all for a couple of the cars to go by. He has to wait for Willows, and I think there's one other car as well. So George Roque now is going to move up into, it looks like a net P2, as McKenzie comes out. So McKenzie's lost out big time to Willows and Gal there after the stop, as now Gal and Willows come out ahead of McKenzie. And where's McKenzie going to come out? He's going to come out ahead of the traffic, and yes he does, because Zachary Fitzwater, the Australian, comes in for a stop. And let's see where he comes back out on track. He's had a good race so far as the Australian. And he now comes out of the pits. And Rick Yan, his teammate, is just about to come in as well. So I think will the Caterham crew get away in time before Yan comes in? I guess they probably have, or have they? They've just about come out on time. They come out, well, actually that was perfect timing there, so I think they might have actually just about got away with that. Fortunately for Yan, as they now come out 7.6, so they had to wait. They had to wait for several cars to go by there, Yan. Because of that, maybe if the crew had been slightly quicker, they could have got out in front. I don't know, but it was close. And Jay McKenzie's out. Jay McKenzie, one of the title contenders, is now out of the US Grand Prix, and that is his title hopes eliminated on the spot. And unfortunately for McKenzie, who's had a good season, is comfortably beaten George Roque so far in the season, especially on qualifying battles as well. Has retired from this race. An engine failure has caused him to retire, and thanks for that notification, Facebook. I really needed that. As we're looking at him coming down onto the straight, the engine failure had already gone at this point, and he'd already gone past the pit, so there was no way you could just about see the smoke coming through the spray. And there we go. That is his race done and dusted. So unfortunately for McKenzie, he is not going to be taking his first ever title of the season. That is very unfortunate indeed, as we're looking at him coming through the S's, and eventually he does decide to pull the car off the track. And although he damages it in the meantime, probably frustrated at the fact that unfortunately for him, he is not going to win the title. I don't know if Glazebrook actually hit the debris from McKenzie's car there. I'm not exactly sure, but I don't know. It looked like he hit the debris. I don't know if Glazebrook got any damage from that or not. But that was very interesting to say the least. And well, don't know if anything is going to happen, but we'll see if did Glazebrook get any damage, and the answer is actually no, he didn't. So Glazebrook actually didn't have any damage from that. So that's, I guess, quite lucky, as Rick Yan has spun, coming on to the last section of the lap, and he's rejoined. That's the worst place to stop, right there. That's on the racing line. And he's been hit. And he's been hit by Gal, who is out of the race, and that is because Gal out of the race, and his title race is oh, he's been hit as well from behind by one of the Ferraris. It's Waze Kuba who's hit him, and now he's going to have to go into the pits for repairs. And Judge Willis goes past him, but Miklos Gau, his title hopes are now done. So I believe that will now leave, I think for the final race, that will only leave Will Neller and Florin Volker in title contention, with Gal out, Mackenzie out, Ionescu out. So there was 5 of them left, 3 of them are now gone, and so 2 are only going to be left coming into the final race in Brazil. As I said, Volker will not win the title here, even if he wins this race, but he'll certainly take one step towards it. And Jan just went on the curb there, spun the car, and you can see he spins the car, lets the 2 cars go by, then he tries to reach on, and then unfortunately the worst place kind of stalls the car. And I mean, look at that, he's right on the apex of the track there, and Gal unfortunately hits his car, has nowhere to go, and then he gets hit from behind by the Ferrari of Waze Kuba, who loses his front wing and his window as well. And that's quite unfortunate there for the driver. It's not exactly what he wanted at all. But anyway, that is his race done and dusted, although his car is currently being pushed away right in the middle of the track, and that is not really what he would have wanted at all. And that is not really what he would have wanted in the slightest, as now Waze Kuba decides to come in to the pits for his first pit stop of the Grand Prix, as Fitzwater, who I think went a little bit wide there, and Fitzwater has actually hit the has hit the Red Bull that was stranded in the middle of the track. But I mean, fortunately for Fitzwater, it's actually pushed the Red Bull now right off the track, and that is exactly what he would have wanted. So that's good for him at least, as we're now looking at Ricky Hartstein, who's now coming into the pits. As we're now looking at George Roque himself, who's coming into the pits. And let's see how quickly this pit stop goes for him. As Roque, will he go back onto the inters, or will he stay on the wets? That is going to be the big question. And he goes on to well, he stays on the wets, I should say. 4.7 second stop. And let's have a look to see where he comes out on track. So he's going to behind Judge Willis. He's currently in P3. Will he stay in P3? And the answer is yes, he will, because Oliver Glaze, because the one in 4th, and he is well behind. As now we're looking at Florin Volker, who comes in for a stop. And let's see how quick this pit stop will be for Florin Volker for the Red Bull.
Okay, no pressure. As
he now comes in for his stop, stays on the wets, 5.1, comes out. So it'll be interesting to see how long these wet tyres last, because obviously before the end of the race is when the it's meant to stop raining, I should say. So be interesting to see what happens when it comes to that. Anyway, so let's have a look to see where Glazebrook comes out after his stop. He comes in to the pits, and he comes out of his stop. How quick will it be? 5.4. Out of his pit stop, there's going to be another driver coming in just in front of him as well. And Roman Quagga's gone a little bit wide there, but he's going into the pits anyway to get off probably these wet tyres that I imagine probably quite worn at this moment in time. He comes round the right-hander, and let's see where he comes out onto the track. So he comes into the pits, a bit of an unusual pit entry, I have to say, but he comes in nonetheless. And let's see how quick the stop will be for the French driver. I believe he's actually the only French driver on the grid, I think. So he's doing his country proud, and let's see as he comes in, how quick will it be? There was a pit call for someone else, I think, was it De Rossa? I think I couldn't quite tell from the graphics there. But anyway, Quag comes in, 4.7, quick stop that was, and he comes out, and he's going to come out outside the points in P11, it looks like. And I was right, it was De Rossa, so my eyes didn't deceive me for once there. So De Rossa now comes into the pits, and where does he come out? 4.9, quick stop there from the Sauber crew. He's going to come out behind his teammate Oliver Glazebrook, And will he come out actually ahead of Zachary Fitzwater in the Caterham? And the answer is he's actually been lapped by Volker, and yes he will, because Fitzwater's only just coming around the final corner right now. And there's a car out, and that's Alex Southgate, who is out of the race for McLaren. And where is that? That is just coming off the back straight. And what has happened here? And he comes now into the corner, and he just has a problem there. And obviously you can see it's his left wheel that's had a problem. I think it's happened as he went over the curb there. It looks like this is the suspension. Yeah, the suspension just went there, going over the curb, and that's unfortunately killed Southgate's car, and then unfortunately killed his chances of a points finish. So there we go. That is Southgate's race done and dusted. Zachary Fitzwater now comes into the pits for Caterham, and let's see where he comes out onto the track after this stop. Into the pits he comes. Does he put on the wet tyres? Yes, he does. So it looks like the rain hasn't quite eased up as of yet. And let's see, where does Fitzwater come back out on the track? He's had a very solid race, has Fitzwater, not got involved in any trouble, which unfortunately has held him so far this season. Hasn't quite gone his way for the Australian. But anyway, Lucas Levi now comes into the pits. And let's see where he comes out onto the track. And it's a long way down, right to the end of the pits. I think just about the last pit stall. In comes Lucas Levi for Marussia.
Okay, no pressure.
And let's see where he comes back out on the track. Comes out of his pit stall. 5.8 seconds. Coming in out, looks like in P13, is it? By the looks of things. And yes, he does. As there's Rick Yan, who's in P14, but he's having a trouble race right now. And actually, interestingly, he's actually on the intermediate tyres. I've just noticed. So I believe he's one of the only ones on the track right now. Excuse me. One of the only ones on the track who is on the intermediate tyres. William Duncan is about to come in. Well, he's coming in for his stop. What tyres will he put on? Will it be the wets or will it be the inters? And dries? Dry tyres. Okay. Alright. Dry tyres for William Duncan. I mean, the track doesn't look even remotely dry. But this is going to be very interesting. Obviously, William Duncan, the home favourite, is obviously clearly going for something. He wants to entertain his home fans. And, wow. I mean, there's no way the dry tyres are going to work. Surely not. I mean, Rick Yan, I think, is one of the only ones that's actually on the intermediate tyres. And I think actually there was a Marussia that was on the inters. And, well, would you look at that? William Duncan is out of the race with a suspension problem. So it wasn't anything to do with the fact that maybe choosing the wrong tyres for this for this part of the race. But William Duncan has retired with a suspension failure. And it was just before the pits, just after the pits as well. Had no chance of getting back. And I think it was his wheel again. And, wow, there we go. That is William Duncan's race over. As now Ricky Hartrazane is about to come into the pits for Force India. And let's see where he comes out onto the track. What tyres will he put on? He will put on the inters. I think right now the inters are probably the way to go, because there's not quite a dry line yet. I imagine maybe some of the others might try the dry tyres later on in the race. Depends how dry it will get, but I think it's about this time. I reckon that the rain will probably about stop. So it'll be interesting to see how quickly the track does indeed get dry. But Oliver Glazebrook comes in. What tyres will he put on? Oh, he goes on the dry tyres. Okay. Right, so Oliver Glazebrook is the latest one to try it on the dries. So maybe they do think that it's starting to dry. I mean, it doesn't look, especially at the bit that Quag's at right now as he goes wide on those wets, that it is particularly dry. But I mean, it does. I mean, it doesn't look dry to me, but who knows? Only they know. So as Quag comes around the penultimate corner, now it comes into the pits, and the big question is, what tyres will he put on? Will he put on the wets or will he put on the dries? As he now comes into the pits, and let's see. What tyres does he put on? I think that was a Red Bull pit crew that were out there, so be interested to see who is going to... I was about to say who's going to come in, but it's obviously going to be Volker because Gal's out the race, so it's going to be Volker that comes in.
No pressure.
And Quag is going to put on the intermediate tyres. So he comes back out onto the track. Now the big question is, what tyres is Florian Volker going to put on? Will he put on the inters or will he put on the dries? So right now Oliver Glazebrook I think is one of the only people to actually put, well, apart from Duncan who's now out, but one of the only people that's still in the race I should say, that has actually put on the dry tyres. Volker now comes into the pits and he puts on the dries. Okay, so now this is going to be a fascinating battle for the win. So Joseph Willows is still out on track, and I don't know if he's actually... I think he'll still have one more pit stop to go, I believe. As we're now looking at Volker coming out the pits. So Willows is currently still on the wet tyres. He's already gone past, so he's going to go for another lap. So he comes out in third, Volker, because he's going to come up behind George Roque in the Mercedes, as De Rossa, Oliver Glazebrook's teammate, comes in. Will he go on the dry tyres as well? I imagine he would, so I think it would make sense. Will he do the same thing? And no, he doesn't. So he does actually different to Glazebrook. He actually goes on to the intermediate tyres. So clearly there are some differences here as to which tyre they think is best. As Oliver Glazebrook now comes across the finish line, he's going to come out ahead of De Rossa as there's Fitzwater coming through on the wet tyres. As Waze Cooper is set to pit this lap as well. As he now comes into the pits, and what, well, how quick will this stop be for the Congolese driver? And let's see, where does he come into the pits? What tyres will he put on? He puts on the dry tyres as well. As he comes into the pits, he comes out of his pit box. And where will he come out onto the track? Omar Khanna comes out behind him. So now George Roque actually comes into the pits. What tyres will he put on for the remainder of the race? Will he put on the inters or the dries? And he puts on the inters. Okay, now that is interesting. Let's see if that works out for George Roque. They're clearly obviously gambling to try and get the win here because Roque's seat at Mercedes is under threat. They're not sure who he's going to get that for next season. But George Roque is set to come out of the pits, and where will he come out? Well, he'll come out in third, but the question is, where will Joseph Willows come out on track as well, and what tyres will he put on? And as he comes into the pits, Joseph Willows, how quick will the stop be? What tyres will he put on? He puts on the dry, so I think right now Roque is the only person, Roque is, I should say, the only person in the top three to go on the inters. So Joseph Willows comes out of the pits. Volker, I believe, will take the lead of this race. So despite that problem that Volker had, it may not affect him, depending on the weather. But Willows comes out in second. Will he come up behind Roque? Will be the interesting thing. And Roque is about to come across the line, but Willows is going to come out ahead of Roque on the track. And right now it is still wet, so there is no dry line specifically yet. So is that going to work out for Roque and Volker? For Willows and Volker, I should say, as De Rossa, for some reason, with just 3 laps to go, decides to pit for the dries. So clearly, the dries are the way to go. As right now, Volker has still got a 9-second lead over Willows. So I don't think so for Roque, I don't think that strategy has worked out for him. I think Volker has got this win in the bag, unless the tyres dramatically go off the... Well, I think they will actually, because I imagine the track is getting probably quite dry now. As here it is, there is the dry line, and Roque is still on the inters, and I don't think he's going to bother pitting now. I think he's going to have to fight it to the end, but for Roque, the strategy for him has not worked out, as Willows is right behind him as he's coming onto the straight. Willows has got the speed, he's got the tyres, and he's on the inside of Roque, and surely that's P2 done. And yes, he moves up into P2. Roque is going to be pretty defenceless. There's no point in him pitting now because, I mean, what's he going to do? There's nothing he can really do about it, and Willows takes second place. So Joseph Willows up in second. He's already got a gap ahead of Roque, but Volker is very far clear in front, and here he is. Here is Florian Volker, the leader of this race. He had pole position, and despite having that problem earlier on, the strategy for him has worked out perfectly. Going to dry tyres was the right way to go, and unfortunately for Mercedes, unlike in real life, their strategy has not worked out today. Unfortunately, putting Roke on the Inters has not worked out. Maybe if they put him on the Inters maybe a few laps before, maybe a couple, 2-3 laps before, it might have worked out. They might have got ahead of Willows, but I don't know if they would have got ahead of Volker. I don't think it probably would have happened because, I mean, coming into the end of the race, the dries would have certainly come into handy. It probably would have got Roke second, would have got first. Doubt it. I doubt it, to be honest. But anyway, for Volker, this is very important with regards to the title race. With Will Miller out, Florian Volker will take the championship lead back off him, but he won't win it here. And fortunately, for every one of us, the title battle will go to the final race once again in Brazil. It has gone to Brazil, I think, for the last, since 2007. I can't remember if he did it in 2006, but certainly 2007. But Florian Volker, his team did the strategy very well. He passes the Force India coming into the final corner, and Florian Volker comes round the final corner. He comes down the front straight, and Florian Volker wins the American Grand Prix to take one step towards the 2013 title. Well done to him. Ricky Harkstein finally finishes the race and finally finishes a race in 8th place. Joseph Williams comes across the line in 2nd place. That could have implications on the Mercedes seat for next year, as George Rook, unfortunately for his strategy, didn't work. He comes across the line in P3. Roman Quagg will take some points for Williams coming across the line in P9. David Greenwood set to come across the line to take a point for Marussia, as he obviously will be moving on to Lotus for next season. That's not a bad result for the English driver at all. As he comes across the line, Almar Carr just missing out on points in P11. Across the line he comes. And Oliver Glazer to take a very impressive P6 for Sauber. He's done a very good job today. Hasn't been that consistent this season, well, certainly in the second half anyway, but he comes across the line in P6. De Rossa, unfortunately, the Inters didn't quite work out for him. Roke didn't do the same thing in pit for dries. Unfortunately, that didn't work out for him. But De Rossa will still take a 7th place, and he's certainly done very well this season against his team at Glazebrook. Rick Yan comes across the line in P13 for KTM. Lucas Levi set to come across the line in P12 for Marussia, as he comes now down on the final corners. I believe Rogue actually was one of the only people who actually was on the intermediate tyres at the end of the race, as Wade Skipper comes across the line in P4. But as I said, Fitzwater comes around the final corner. He'll take P8. That's a good amount of points for him. And is Fitzwater on dries actually? And yes, he is. So Roke, I think, was the only person actually on intermediate tyres at the end of that race. But well done to Florian Volker, who nonetheless takes victory here at the US Grand Prix. As we now take a look at the final results, with Volker in first, Willows second, Roke third, Cooper fourth, fifth, Glazebrook, De Rossa, Fitzwater, Quagg, Greenwood completing the points. Carr, Levi and Yan finishing, with Duncan, Southgate, Gal, Mackenzie, Moyson, Gamba, Nella, Inescu, Vidrina out of the race. And as we move on to the fastest lap, who said the fastest lap will be interesting to see. It was Joseph Willows, in fact, for Ferrari, with Volker second, De Rossa third, Cooper fourth, Carr fifth, I should say, Glazebrook sixth, Greenwood seventh, Quagg eighth, Fitzwater ninth, Rook 10th, obviously he's still on the intermediate tyres. Rick Yan down into 11th. Lucas Levi 12th, Mark Zane, Gal, Mackenzie, Southgate, Moyton, Gamba, Duncan, Inescu, Nella, and Vidrina, who didn't set a lap because obviously he was eliminated on the first corner. So here are the points. So crucially, Florian Volker leads by 20 points ahead of Will Nella. So Volker just needs to win. So Nella needs to win and hope Volker finishes 8th or below to have any chance of winning the title. But Miglos, Gal, Mackenzie and Kuba are all out, I should say, of title contention. Roke is now who's now up into 6th place ahead of Ionescu, with Willows 8th, Vidrina 9th, and De Rossa 10th, with Farquharson, Carr, Glazebrook, Greenwood, Host, Southgate, Quagg, Moyton, Duncan, Gamba, Levi, Yan, Fitzwater completing the rest of the points order. So it's just a two-way battle for the win of the title next season. And in the constructors, Red Bull lead with 339 points ahead of Lotus in second with 351, Mercedes third with 338, Ferrari fourth with 311, McLaren fifth with 140, Sauber in sixth place with 90, Force India seventh with 75, Williams eighth with 38, Toro in ninth with 35, Marussia 10th with 29, and KTM 11th, the last team, with 12 points, meaning that so far this season all cars and all drivers, I should say, have scored points. So in the news this week, the big news is that Robert Ionescu will leave Lotus and will join Red Bull next season. Oliver Glazebrook will remain at Sauber, and Franco Gamba will also remain at Toro Rosso. And Franco Gamba's cousin Roberto has been promoted from GP2 and will drive for Marussia next season. And Julius Anderson, who is not related to Cameron Anderson, by the way, as Julius Anderson is German, will be promoted from GP2 to drive for Caterham. So that is the news for this race, and that is it for the US Grand Prix. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to, as usual, vote for your driver of the day and give the race a rating out of 10. So thank you very much, everyone, for watching, and we will see you for the final round of the 2013 season. Unbelievable that the season has gone through so fast. The final round, the Brazilian Grand Prix, round 19 of the season. Thank you for watching, and we will see you there. Goodbye.